Good morning. Happy New Year. Welcome to our first spiritual gathering of 2019. We have just a few invitations and announcements to share before we begin our spiritual gathering this morning. A few things that are happening very soon. An opportunity to do some learning together with Dave Jobson for 3 Monday evenings in January, beginning a week from tomorrow. It's about something we all know a little something about: debt. Is it more than a 4-letter word? And here's an opportunity to learn a little bit about our systems, our global economic systems that control and shape so much of our lives. So there's an opportunity to sign up. We're continuing to explore our roots, exploring some of the values that we share with the former Meewasin Valley United Church, now SSUC Saskatoon, and today we're going to explore being rooted in passion. We're in this time of being between getting here and being here. So we take a few moments now to center ourselves, to sing our way into community, and to invite each other to bring the fullness of our week, our year, our life into this time we share with one another. Welcome to this gathering, a place where you have a place. Wherever you are, whatever your week has been, wherever you find yourself in life in this moment, and wherever you find yourself geographically, whether you're here in this circle in Edmonton, or you're joining us from Saskatoon, or you're joining us online from wherever you are just now, you are welcome, and you are essential to this time we share with one another, to the spiritual community we build with one another. Whatever your age, whatever your gender identity, your sexual orientation, your race, your ethnicity, your religion or none, whatever your search, this is a safe place. A place for our laughter and our tears, a place for our passion and our fears. This is a place for our wonder and amazement, our joy and our serenity. And together we seek to open to all that this time holds for us. Those of us gathering here in Edmonton and those gathering in Saskatoon acknowledge that we are gathered on the storied land, traditional meeting place, gathering place and traveling route of Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Côte Sioux peoples. Native lands to so many, adopted home to many of us, all of us. However it is we come to make our life in this place, we are members of Treaty 6. Whatever our history or heritage, whatever our time and place in life, whatever our questions, our hopes, our dreams, our fears, we are with one another in a quest to be most fully alive, to be most truly ourselves. This is a new day, a day none of us have ever seen before. This is a new year, a year none of us has lived before. This is a new turning around our sun. This is a new week. This is a day to begin again. We come and light this candle in our midst, a symbol of our intention to live in ways that seek to be light for our world, that light our common good together, and that reflect the light of love and honor for one another. As we come out of a particular history as Christian community, a community that has been praying words that have been handed down to us, that have been attributed to Jesus of Nazareth in response to his friends asking that he teach them to pray. We offer these words, a paraphrase patterned on that prayer, words we offer together as a way of strengthening our intention to live truly, deeply, well lit with one another. We open to the sacredness at the heart of all, called by many names. We open to deep mystery we trust to be love. May we be faithful to the vision of building a beloved community on earth. May there be daily bread to nourish all hunger, forgiveness for the harm we have done, and the capacity to forgive those who have hurt us. May we not feel abandoned in hard times, but find the strength to meet each moment and the wisdom to walk in the light of deep gratitude. For the light of love is with us now and forever. Amen. This is a time for all ages. If you're tall, if you're small, if you're new, if you're old, if you have been here before, if you've never been here before, we invite you to come and join us here on the carpet. We're going to share a story together, a story for all of us, for the big people and the smaller people. I bet every once in a while, adults ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Anybody get asked that question? That's a good question we like to ask as adults. And then we kind of expect we might hear, oh, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a EMT, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a forest firefighter. We have all kinds of things we dream about in terms of things we do. I want to share a story about a little girl who kept being asked that very question. What do you want to be? It's a story by Tias Moss, and there's some lovely pictures by Jerry Pinky. And the pictures will be up on the wall. Today, a lady, a man, another man, and my friend all asked me what I want to be. And I thought, and they got tired of waiting, so I said, I'll tell you tomorrow. And I walked home slowly. I kicked up rocks and dirt that filled the air like tiny butterflies. I held a handful of river water, and then I let it go above my head like rain. And then I licked a patch of sunlight on my arm, and I played hopscotch in the footprints after I made them. I made a grass mustache and a dandelion beard and a bird nest toupee. The wind was a magician, and it turned me into a dancer. I danced until I was dizzy and the sky turned into a lake, so I stood on my head and was a fish swimming in it. I skipped double dutch with strands of rainbow. Then I fastened the strands to my hair and my toes and became a fiddle with sunbeams played. Then I sang with the oxygen choir. At sunset, I was a firefighter, and I squirted water at the sun until it turned into the moon and until it was so dark the stars couldn't play hide and seek anymore. All home free, I said. And by the time I got home, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be big, but not so big that a mountain or a mosque or a synagogue seemed small. I wanted to be strong, but not so strong that a kite seemed weak. I want to be old, but not so old that Mars and Jupiter and redwoods seem young. I want to be fast, but not so fast that lightning seems slow. I want to be wise, but not so wise that I can't learn anything. I want to be beautiful, but not so beautiful that a train moving in the sun like a metal peacock's glowing feather on tracks that are like stilts 1,000 miles long laid down like a ladder up a mountain, wow, seems dull. I want to be green, but not so green that I can't also be purple. I want to be tall, but not so tall that nothing is above me. Up must still be somewhere with clouds and sky. I want to be quiet, but not so quiet that no one can hear me. I want to be sound, a whole orchestra with 2 bassoons and an army of cellos. Sometimes I just want to be the triangle, a tinkle that sounds like an itch. I want to be still, but not so still that I turn into a mannequin or get mistaken for a tree. I want to be in motion, but I want the ants in my pants to sometimes take a vacation. Sometimes I want to be slow, but not so slow that everything passes me by. Sometimes I want to be small, but not so small that I'm easy to miss. About the size of the thought of a bud before it opens and becomes a universe in which bees orbit like planets. Sometimes I want to be invisible, but not gone. Sometimes I want to be weightless, floating on air, able to fly when I want to and able to stay on the ground when I feel like it. I want to be a leaf that's part canoe riding the water as it's a liquid horse. I want to be comfortable in all the elements. I want to be a language, a way to share thoughts. I want to be like my grandmother's hands when she signs, when she seems to be blessing everything. I want to be all the people I know. Then I want to know more people so I can be them too. They can all be me. I want to be a new kind of earthquake, rocking the world as if it's a baby in a cradle. I want to be eyes looking everywhere. I want to be ears, hearing everything. I want to be hands touching everything. I want to be mouth tasting everything. I want to be heart feeling everything. I want to be life doing everything. That's all. That's all I want to be. I think she just wanted to be in everything she was doing, to love every moment, to do everything fully, to be there, to not miss anything. And I have a sneaking suspicion that's how we want to live too. Today's a day to practice that. Today, Kids Spirit and preschool's taking a break until next week after school starts again. So we invite you to stay in the circle with us, and there's activities you can do back at the table. We invite you to participate in the circle with us in any way you choose. And we're going to sing about all these things that we love in the world around us, a song in praise of the sacred.
Is it on? Thank you. It's a poem called On This Day by Rachel Lamb. May you fall madly in love this year, in love with someone who unhinges your tired trajectory, in love with the spouse of several years who might be aching for lightning, in love with demanding children and crazy relatives, in love with the particular pedigree of genius insanity that has perhaps claimed you in spite of your reluctance, and certainly in love with an animal, a cloud, a redwood, the wild, these at least once a day. May you fall in love with this fragile jewel of a world, with hard work, real learning, just causes, petitioning, and prayers. May you fall in love with wonder itself, with the great mystery, with all that feeds you in order that you may live, and with the responsibility that confers. May you fall in love with heartbreak and seeing how it's stitched into everything. May you fall in love with the natural order of things and with tears, tenderness, and humility. May this be a magnificent year for you. May you fall deeply, hopelessly, inextinguishably in love. In this contemporary blessing,
This is a reading by Mark Nepo, and it's written to someone he knew by the name of Joel. The title is For Joel at 94. They say that miners in South America strap small lamps around their chest, that this works better than the light coming from the center of your head. They say that the head can be fooled, but the heart can't turn without the body. This makes me think of you digging your way through your long life, lighting everything with your heart. It's a good way to live. And when we sit at the end of the day, our hearts illumine the day and we see each other in its radiance. I can tell. It reminds me of many of you, of many circles you've been a part of. It's a good way to measure time, to make our way on earth by the light coming from our heart. This is what you've taught us. Is it any wonder that what you touch, including us, glows? In this tribute to a long life,
and from Matthew's Gospel, words passed down to us from the first century, in a collection of teaching that Matthew's community assembled that we know of as the Sermon on the Mount. comes this little piece of teaching, a paraphrase of Matthew 5. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be like salt, seasoning everything and bringing out the flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste the flavors of goodness? You will have lost something useful. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be the light, bringing out the colors in this world. We're going public with this. Light is not meant to be hidden. It's meant to be like a city on a hill. As a light bearer, it isn't helpful to hide your light under a bucket. If you put it on a lampstand, it's useful. Keep open house. Be generous with the light of your life. In this ancient teaching, I spent the first half of my life so far preoccupied with questions about life after death. And in this second half of my life, I've been occupied with questions about life before death. How do we stay alive until we die? How do we live fully, deeply, truly, intentionally, so that whatever happens, whenever death comes, we will have really lived? Every year as we complete our journey as an Earth community around our sun, it feels important to ponder how alive we've been and how to stay alive to the life we're in and to the life that's in us. Several years ago, our friend Diane was given 6 months to live. She launched into her bucket list. She bought a Porsche and she drove down the California coast, visiting friends and family all along the way. She hosted a family reunion, bringing her divorced parents and her siblings, a broken and blended family, bringing them together. She and her partner explored the Galapagos Islands, and in her words, we had the time of our lives. They had hard conversations about where they would put the hospice bed in their house when the time came. 6 months after the death sentence, a new physician restaged Diane's cancer and found her to be in remission, which meant she might have a few more years to live. It took her a while to adjust to the news of her life being extended. Ironically, she went into a depression because all of her efforts had been directed towards saying goodbye to experiencing a good death, and now she felt a sense of failure, that she had failed. Not even being able to get dying right. And somehow she wasn't just failing to live, but now she was also failing to die. So while she held that question, why am I still here? She went on a wilderness quest that's patterned after the Aboriginal tradition of a vision quest. And in her time alone in the wilderness, Diane was visited by two little birds that darted in and out of the brush and the trees. A moment of insight came to her when she realized that all these little birds do is tend their meadow. They don't worry about flying up to the surrounding peaks. They don't worry about where they can't go. They give themselves to the life they're in, to life right where they are. For her, she embraced a sense of purpose in this, in seeing that she was still here to tend her meadow. She didn't have to save the world. She didn't have to do anything grand. She just needed to give herself back to the meadow she was in. Her quest led her to a life that was about going deeper, digging into her meadow, going deeper into her relationships, going deeper into herself. In the midst of this, she acknowledged that in the shadow of death, what she had been most afraid of was falling in love with life again and then having to let it all go. Diane's life in this world ended less than a year later. But she lived those final months with passion and purpose and depth and courage and integrity, because she had allowed herself to rise in love with life again, to love the meadow of her life, even when the mountains around her were no longer climbable. Somehow, life before death isn't nearly as natural as it sounds, because it isn't easy to stay madly in love with life, just as it is, in all its beauty and tragedy, in all its wonder and worry, with all its repetitions and surprises. It isn't easy to stay lit, to keep shining, to keep our light clear and bright. And maybe that's why we need wisdom teachers like the Buddha or Jesus of Nazareth, who taught their followers to make of themselves a light, to shine as light in the world, to be light for the world. Not the light of the world, but a light of the world. One of the many lights that does what light does. Light exposes, and light envisions. Exposing the harm, envisioning the good. Exposing the wrong, envisioning the right. Exposing the pain, envisioning the healing. Exposing the corruption and envisioning the justice. Exposing the hate and envisioning the love. To be like light. To be both wave and particle at the same moment. And if we're like light, we're traveling. There's nothing static about light. We know it. When we look at the night sky, we remember that it travels for years, that light, to reach our eyes. Those who followed Jesus of Nazareth, like those who followed Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, 500 years before that, Those closest to their teachers saw in them a kind of radiance, a quality of light, a passion for living that cast light on their path. And they learned from their master teachers that we are all born to shine, not just some of us, but all of us. Not just the mystics and the martyrs, not just the saints and the enlightened, but each of us and all of us. And isn't that precisely what Mark Nepo experienced in his friend Joel? As he reflected on his 94 years of living, he saw Joel as one who was digging his way like a miner through his long life, like a miner with a lamp strapped around his chest, lighting everything from the center of his being, from his heart, living with passion, living as though he was born to shine, which he was, and refusing the temptations to hide his light, but rather to shine with light all the days of his life. On the eve of her wilderness quest, Diane and her companions were sent out into their solitary experiences with a poem. The poem is called The Clearing. It's written by Morgan Farley, and these were the words into which my friend and others were sent into their wilderness. I am clearing a space here where the trees stand back. I'm making a circle so open the moon will fall in love and stroke these grasses with her silver. I'm setting stones in 4 directions, stones that have called my name from mountain tops and riverbeds, canyons and mesas. And here I will stand with my hands empty, mind gaping under the moon. I know there's another way to live. When I find it, the angels will cry out in rapture. Each cell of my body will be a rose, a star. We know there's another way to live. We know there's living, and then there's aliveness of living in love with life. It's another way to live, to be alive in that kind of cellular way, to be eyes looking everywhere, to be ears hearing everything, to be hands touching everything, to be mouth tasting everything, to be heart feeling everything, to be doing life as the only passion that really matters. With that passion that lights us from our center. So here we stand in the beginning of a new turning around our sun. What a great day to ask ourselves, what would it take for us to fall in love with life again? What would it take for us to retrieve our light from under its hiding place and to let it shine from the center of our being? as a community, we each do our part. We bring the gift of our presence to one another by being together in circles like this. We bring our openness to share our stories and our experiences with each other. We bring our questions and our search to one another in gathering to study and to ask questions and to be together as explorers with one another. We bring our desire to make the world easier and better for others, giving our time to things like making tax time pay and helping at the food bank and a variety of outreach activities that we participate in as a community. We thank each of you for the ways that you bring your being to this community and make possible what we do together. We support our work with what we are able to contribute from our means, and there are a variety of ways to offer our financial gifts. There are donation boxes at each door at the back that welcome cash and checks, opportunity to donate on our website at any time, to contribute by pre-authorized remittances, and to purchase grocery cards, which are available for sale in the foyer as a way of helping support our life and our work together. On the first Sunday of each month, it is our tradition to celebrate a ritual at the table. So we come to this table on the first Sunday in this new month, in this new year. And we come because we are meaning-making creatures and creatures of ritual. In our particular tradition, in various ways and called by different names, we celebrate a meal, a ceremonial meal at tables simple and fancy, at tables great and small. And we come to this table today to frame a moment of gratitude for the wisdom and the stories that shape us, the songs that carry our hopes and our fears. And we come to this table to hold a simple piece of bread in our hands, framing a moment of gratitude for the good gifts of the earth, for the work of many to plant, harvest, grind, bake, to feed our hunger. And we share bread with one another today as a commitment to live generously and to live graciously. We pause too at this table to share a cup. A common cup with one another, framing a moment of gratitude for the gifts of community, for the communities that are containers, for our tears and our joys, our hopes and our fears. And we share a cup with one another as a way to make a commitment to live consciously and intentionally. We invite you to honor this table time in whatever way is good for you. Everyone is welcome to come to the table and to receive a simple piece of bread and dip it in the cup and share in this celebration of our shared journey. And everyone is welcome to take this time to be in your place, to stay where you are, to be in a time of reflection in whatever way you choose. There is bread for the gladness we all taste in moments, and there is a cup to hold the sadness we each carry. Come, let us share together bread of gratitude and a cup of intention, and receive the gifts of this spacious time for reflection and the gifts of music. Friends, we go with this little light of mine and this little light of yours, and we go to be light in the world, and we go to make of ourselves a light. We go to give our light in the best of times and in the worst of times. And it is enough. It has always been enough. We go with one another singing our deep intention to live well lit.
you.